And what I like to compare it to is coffee shops, because I worked in one. The person across the street, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Pete's Coffee, they're all giving people coffee. So what's going to make and separate you is going to be the experience. So how can I have that earned confidence, and how can I develop the skills and tools necessary to not only provide a service, but provide it in a way that gives people an experience that they won't get anywhere else?
Talking about the experience, let's talk about CrossFit as a whole. What do you think people will typically associate with CrossFit, and what have you done to kind of change some of the negative stereotypes that are often associated with CrossFit in itself?
Yeah. What I see in the CrossFit community, at least what people perceive it to be, is intense, which it can be. You need to be buff and in shape in order to do it, and it produces injuries. And so for me, those perceptions of CrossFit are things that I want to be able to switch. And what I've done to emphasize it is partner with people like you to be able to make sure that we are not only understanding the body and movement, but we're also sending our athletes to be able to get screened by you, to be able to get treatment from you, and to be able to also have a second set of eyes as to what we're doing and how we're doing it and getting feedback from you. We emphasize safety, then better movement. Then and only then do we ask people to go faster. The CrossFit terminology is mechanics, then consistency, then intensity. So I really try to spend the majority of the hour that we are in class going over the movement, focusing on the mechanics, making sure that people are doing it time and time again, and then giving them a short period to be able to get a workout. Where I feel most CrossFit gyms try to cram too much into an hour and they become supervisors of athletes. I want to become people that, rather than becoming a coach that just supervises people through 2-3 different components of a workout, I want to be able to be a leader of people and making sure that they're moving well, doing that consistently, whether I'm looking or not, and then requiring them to push toward their threshold during that workout.
I might surprise a lot of people here by saying that a lot of the high quality CrossFit experiences that I've had, such as at your place, and I would say that we're relatively fortunate to have a lot of people who I think are trying to do CrossFit the right way, but education is such a central piece of what we do at Rehab to Perform and what I've seen at CrossFit Hardshells. And I think that is the staple that all of these different fitness environments need in order to ideally get people to really buy in and to do things in a manner in which they can be in control of whether or not they're sustainably physically active and going to end up reaching the outcomes that they're striving for, especially given the new year. When I see people run into problems, that could happen in physical therapy, that could happen in CrossFit, could happen in a wide variety of different fitness modalities. It's a lack of education, often surrounding mindset, and then how to actually perform the activities and whether or not those activities are actually appropriate for them. But when I see what you've done in your environment and seeing that education is such a bedrock principle of what you do, I think you're finding much more engaged members, and you're probably finding people that are able to be in your environment for, say, much longer with much less complaints. But talk to me a little bit about how you might structure a CrossFit environment a little bit differently, especially given that the large bulk of the people that come to you aren't necessarily looking to be games athletes. They're looking for general fitness, whether or not that's the mental, emotional, and physical benefits of physical activity, and what they're trying to accomplish there.
So I like to structure the program to be able to push back on the negative effects of sickness and death. How long can we prolong that? If we can push back on the nursing home, if we can push back on being inactive or being incapable of being to enjoy the things that we love out of life, then awesome. That's what I'm shooting for. And so we're shooting for general health. We're not going to be doing too much to make our bodies kind of respond to the workouts negatively. And we're going to do enough of a daily dose to just make ourselves a little bit better than yesterday. I think one of the reasons that I really gelled with you quickly was that slogan of be better than yesterday. Coming into CrossFit, I think most people think it's competitive. You get put into a classroom, beat the people in your class. And I came into it with the mindset of a boxer of, I'm going to find weaknesses in my fitness and I'm going to hone in on those weaknesses until they become strengths. And that's the kind of message that I want to put out to people, that yes, CrossFit is competitive, but it should be competitive against the person that you were yesterday. You might not be where you want to be, but you're not going to be where you were. And that's all we're really looking for, is giving ourselves enough of a workout that would produce a better outcome, would make us better, more fit, more ready for life, so that we can enjoy it a little bit longer and are more active and less passive about the control that we have of our future.
I'm going to reference one of your favorite quotes right now, and it was on the CrossFit Hardshells website. It ties in perfectly. I am not as strong as I want to be, but I am not as weak as I once was. And I think that quote applies perfectly to what you just said, because I think of like movement prerequisites, right? Foundation, right? The more that I recognize that there are small aspects of my foundation with regards to what I can do from a movement standpoint, or let's say movement competency, the better I'm able to build upon that. But oftentimes people come into, say, a higher intensity environment, or an environment that they deem to be more challenging. They think they automatically need to be in high school, when in all reality, we need to spend more time on doing these middle school and elementary school level activities, right? We're knocking off prerequisites. That is something that we communicate often in our environment. And I think that's honestly what makes it so easy for our team to synergize with people out in the fitness world who are really doing their best to make sure that people are hitting these checkpoints, so to speak. Once again, the idea of physical activity being to prepare people to be physically active for life. If we skip steps, if we're missing checkpoints, our body at some point might just get to a situation where it starts talking to us a little bit more than we would like it to, and it might sideline us. But I think something that we've done very, very nicely, and I'll let you kind of deep dive in this, is as a PT team, it's our job to keep your client, and finding ways to scale, as it's often used in CrossFit, or modify activities to keep people moving so that they're not taking massive steps back that they typically would during rest, I think is essential. You can maybe reference a couple people that you can think of, but I think we've done a nice job of synergizing and ideally putting some people who are fit that active adult category and are allowing them to still do things they love doing.
Yeah, I think from what you're doing as a leader of the Rehab to Perform team is doing something that is different and challenging in terms of fitness. I've seen you at Orange Theory. I've seen you at cycling, yoga, CrossFit. You do a little bit of everything, which allows you to understand what the athlete is wanting to get into. And so rather than telling a patient you can't do that because it's dangerous, you've done it. And now here's the language that we're going to use. Here's going to be kind of the movements that we're going to try to modify. We're going to adjust and make sure that you have the foundation that you need in order to be able to reintroduce that. Having someone who understands what we're trying to do and can speak the language of our clients to be able to then say, we're going to get you prepared to be able to do that, is very helpful. And then getting those members back, whether it's plantar fasciitis or it's rehabbing from an ACL injury and an MCL, just a complete reconstruction, and seeing them being able to match their numbers pre-surgery fairly quickly, mostly because of the direction that you've given them to be able to build on that, knowing the exact linchpin that is making something not function is just phenomenal to have as an asset to our team for sure.
I agree. And oftentimes, you're either doing a good job of communicating to us kind of what's going on, or they come in, they're very well educated. That's one thing I can definitely say about people that I've interacted with in the CrossFit community is the amount of information that they typically walk into our doors with is extremely impressive. And I don't mean Dr. Google. I mean people that have really, really gone out and vetted multiple sources. So they already have a certain amount of self-awareness. So they make for very, very easy clients on our end.
Nice.
The amount of self-efficacy that they have as well definitely makes it an enjoyable community to work with and an enjoyable community to be in. With New Year's here, New Year's resolutions are in full effect. What are some things that you would give in terms of recommendations to people, and what is CrossFit Hardshells offering people with regards to the new year?
For New Year's, I would say for sure, just think of some method of being active. It doesn't necessarily have to be CrossFit, but there are statistics of how we have become a more and more sedentary people, and how they say sitting is the new smoking. Not necessarily because of the fact that it affects your body, but just because you're not as able-bodied as people who are constantly moving. For CrossFit Hardshells, what we're going to be doing is giving out a free month introduction course. So every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m., what we're going to be doing is running you through the basic movements of CrossFit, showing you how to lift, how to do some gymnastics, how to get some conditioning, introducing you to the idea of CrossFit, how we define fitness, not just being strong, not just being a really good gymnast, not being an endurance bunny, but being a little bit of everything and being able to tackle everything that you can. And so we'll be offering a foundation course where we screen for movement, we teach the movement, we introduce the movement into a workout in a controlled atmosphere, and we give you pretty much the decaffeinated version of what a CrossFit class would look like.
You got all these coffee references in here.
Yeah.
Having known you over the past year or so, that's not something that's uncommon.
Works out.
I can't thank you enough for coming on today. I think I learned a couple things that I really didn't have as much awareness about. I think, if anything, it's allowed me to better appreciate your path to this point today. And I think it's something a lot of people will really appreciate listening to. With regards to you, CrossFit Hardshells, where can we find you? Where can we learn more?
You can find us on Instagram at CF Hardshells, and you can find us on Facebook, CrossFit Hardshells, and on the internet, www.crossfithardshells.com. You can check us out. We're on Shady Grove and Oakmont. If you'd like to drop in for a class, just email me at angel@crossfithardshells.com and we'll get you in.
All right.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you for listening to the High Performers Podcast. We want to encourage you to join the conversation, access the show notes, and catch our latest episodes on the website. Please head to highperformerspodcast.com. And if you enjoyed the podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, thanks again for listening.